This is the first lecture of transportation security class, and it's about the introduction to this course. I'm going to introduce basic concepts you should know before the class actually starts, and also give you some example associated with transportation security, and also list some goals for this class. Okay, I have listed some goals in the syllabus, but these ones they are more, say, they are different from those ones from the syllabus, but they are all goals should be achieved. Okay, by the end of the semester. Okay, let's get started. Transportation security. So firstly, what is transportation? So it refers to the movement of goods and or persons from place to place and the various means by which such movement is accomplished. Okay, so transportation is about the movement and the means to implement these movements. Okay, and from Merriam-Webster, MW, okay, so transportation, an act, process, or instance of transporting or being transported. Okay, so when we're talking about transportation in this class, we are talking about transportation from a perspective of transportation network. So next word I want to address here is network. What is a network? What is a transportation network? And why would transportation employ this form of network to implement its function? Okay, so a network could be a fabric or structure of cords or wires that cross at regular intervals and are knotted or secured at the crossings. This is actually not the network in the context of transportation. So a system of lines or channels resembling a network, or an interconnected or interrelated chain, group, or system. The second and third A concepts, they are more like the network we're talking about that is related to transportation. So there are tangible and intangible networks. Okay, for example, tangible ones, spider web, fishing net, sewer network, power grid network. Okay, intangible ones, social network, economic network, and etc. So what do you think a transportation network should belong to? I would say both. Because when we're talking about transportation networks, we would say a highway system. We would also say all those vehicles using these tangible networks, including trucks, right? Cars, right? I would also say that transportation system can be an intangible one sometimes. For example, can you say that an airline from New York to Columbus is something tangible? No, it's a trajectory of aircraft connecting New York and Columbus. It's intangible. And also, when we're talking about transportation network, it is the skeleton of economy of a country. Because in order to trade, in order to do business, you always need to move people or goods from one location to another. So transportation network can also be considered as a network that is supporting business. If that was the scenario, I mean, if you consider transportation system or transportation networks from a perspective of trading and business, it's also intangible. Okay, so I'm listing two types of networks here, tangible ones and intangible ones. And personally, I think that transportation networks, they are both, okay? Sometimes they're tangible, sometimes they're intangible, okay? And how about transportation network? What is a transportation network? So the term network in the context of transportation refers to the framework of routes within a system of locations identified as nodes. Okay, these locations, they are identified as nodes. A route is a single link between two nodes that are part of a larger network that can refer to tangible routes, such as roads and rails, or less tangible routes, such as air and sea corridors. So according to this explanation, according to this definition of network in the context of transportation, you can tell that transportation networks, they are mainly tangible, but can be less tangible or intangible. So transportation networks can be very complex, not only in terms of their topology, but also in terms of its definition and its property of this transportation system's properties. Okay, so for example, we have a city A. It can be considered as a node in a transportation network. Then we have another city B. They are connected by, say, this blue linear feature. In GIS, we say this is a linear feature. Let's just say it's a railroad. And then we have city C. And city C is also connected to city A by railroad or railway. Okay, railway. And we have city D also connected to city C. And the problem here, before we are going to introduce city E, so these four cities, they're connected by a very simple railway system. But this system is so linear that it's not convenient enough. For example, if I want to move something from B to C, I have to move that good or that something you want to move to A, then to C. No need to say that if you want to move something from B to D, you have to go through this whole railway system, very simple linear railway system to achieve this purpose, which is the moving of something from B to D. So here, let's introduce another node here. It's a very special node. It's city E. City E says, okay, city A, B, C, D, they all have their resources to be moved, and they all have their own functions. But the railway system addressed by those blue linear features, that railway system is just too inconvenient. So city E, I do not have resources. I do not have factories. But my advantage is that I'm actually in the center of this area. So let me take that advantage and create another new, say, highway system to connect all four nodes. Each one is a city. And here E is a new node in this transportation network. And it's more, say, powerful compared to other four cities in terms of transportation, because it is a hub. of this new transportation system addressed by green linear features. It's not railway anymore. Let's just assume it's a highway system. So E is also a node, but it is connecting other cities or other nodes. So it's a hub. It's a special type of node. So A, B, C, D, E, 5 cities, say they belong to the same state. And E says that, okay, since I am the hub, I can just carry out the task to conveniently move goods from one city to another within the state. And I can also be more powerful. I'm going to connecting other two cities, F and G, from two other states using these two orange linear features. They could be highways, it could be railway system, but doesn't matter. So here we can say that now we have a more complex transportation network compared to the original one addressed by blue linear features. Now we have more cities, 5 cities from the state, 2 cities from the other 2 states, and they are connected not only by a highway system addressed by green linear features, but also interstate transportation network. There is also an interstate transportation network addressed by these two orange or say yellow linear features. It could be highways, it could be interstate railways, but here we have say a more flexible and interstate transportation network. Okay, so the power of E here, you can say that the power of E as a hub is that it connects all nodes together. It connects all nodes together. And this is also the power of transportation network. Because it is a network, it addresses all nodes within the network using links or routes. And these routes, they intersect with each other. If all these routes they're parallel to each other or they do not affect each other, they are carrying out their own functions independently, then the power would be much less. But the power of a network lies in connections, lies in these nodes. These nodes, they are connected to each other by these links. And some special nodes, such as this hub, city E, is even more powerful than other nodes because it is a hub. It can be considered as the center, say that, of the transportation network. Okay, no matter you want to go from one city to another or move something from one city to another, E is always your first choice. You want to go to city E first, then start from there. You can go to other cities within the state or to other states or even to other countries, right? So this is a transportation network and the power of it, okay? So here is a more specific example of transportation network. So in this figure, we have solid black linear features and empty circles. These circles, they are important cities and hubs for what? For 10 primary trunk lines. Trunk line is not a wrong word. It's not truck line. Trunk lines, they are channels for goods and people to move. So trunk lines could be an actual highway, could be an airline, could be a maritime corridor. So trunk line is a very big word to address a lot of transportation methods. So here, these trunk lines, they are 10 primary trunk lines in the United States, important corridors along which US transportation has developed. Okay, so you can see here it's a very specific transportation network with real world cities and a real world country, which is the United States, and real world geography, not an abstract topography I just showed you here, right? So a very good example for transportation network. Okay. And here, a more detailed example for a small part of a transportation network. So red circles here, they are for different types of nodes. So on the left side, we have simply a node, and it could be a city, and it could be a small transportation nexus in a city. So the concept of node depends on the scale of your area of interest. So node can be considered simply as a city, for example, Chicago, or node can be considered as something more specific. For example, a train station, Union Station in Chicago, right? So it's a very flexible concept. So feeder here is also flexible. It could be a factory in a specific city, or for example, a specific city is very famous for a specific resource, for example, coal mining. Then that city can be considered as a feeder, or a specific factory can be considered as a feeder of goods or resources. And you can see that all these nodes, they're connected to this hub, which means that this hub is responsible for receiving and delivering different goods from different cities, from different nodes, and to other nodes. Okay, of course, these nodes, feeder, a specific node or hub, they are connected by links. And if several links, they are forming a very important corridor that most goods cannot avoid if they want to be moved, then this corridor is considered as a trunk line corridor. And here, gateway is a very special type of node. A gateway is somewhere you can change transportation modes from one to another. Okay, I'm going to introduce transportation modes later with more examples, but transportation mode is a way by which people and goods are moved in a transportation system or in a transportation network. For example, maritime transportation is a mode of transportation network. Land transportation is another mode. Air transportation is the third mode. So there are three modes for transportation networks. A gateway is a node that is able to transfer from one node to another. For example, Chicago is a very important and famous international gateway. If you want to sell something to China, or if you want to import something from foreign countries, all those goods, they can be moved to Chicago first using railway or using simply highways. And since Chicago has a very huge airport, international airport, O'Hare International Airport, you can transfer the transportation mode from land transportation to air transportation, and then move these goods further to other states, to other countries, to another corner of the world. So gateway is where you can transfer transportation modes It's not necessary to just create a lot of gateways. You just need to make sure that important cities such as Chicago, maybe Los Angeles and San Francisco, and Detroit and New York, you make sure that these international cities, they are gateways. Then it's good enough for a country to do international business. And within each state, there should be maybe one gateway to do interstate, to carry out interstate transportation tasks, right? For example, maybe Cincinnati can be used as, I'm not sure about that, can be used as a gateway because it's a big city in Ohio. You can move a goods to Cincinnati using state highways maybe, and then from there you can use interstate railway system to just move these goods to other states, right? Or to another larger gateway for further movement to other countries. Okay, so this is transportation network or transportation system. It is very complex. Okay, so modes, I mentioned the concept earlier, right? Modes, nodes, and links, they make up a transportation network. Right? So this is a photo of Chicago Union Station. It can be considered as a node. Like I said, you can also consider Chicago, the city, as a node. It depends on your specific purpose, right? If you are doing a research about city economy across the country, of course, you can consider Chicago as a transportation node. But if you are doing a research about national rail work system, then you don't have to consider Chicago as a node. You can be more specific, say that Union Station in Chicago City is a transportation node for national railway system, right? So an airport can be a node, right? Another airport or railway station can be a node. As small as a bus stop can be also considered as a node if you are talking about a bus line system for a small city, right? And we have links, linking nodes, right? Could be a highway, could be a railway, could be an airline. So modes, what are three modes in transportation network? Land transportation, or you can say simply land, and maritime, and air, right? Nodes are more complex. Can be a city, can be a bus station, can be an airport, depends on your specific context, right? Links, right? Highway, railway, airway, or maritime corridor connecting different countries, right? So a more specific example here. So I moved from Milwaukee to Columbus 3 years ago because I got my PhD degree in Milwaukee. Okay, so in order to move myself from Milwaukee to Columbus, let's say how many modes can I use? And how many nodes are there for me? And what are those links I may use depending on different modes? So first one, obviously land and link and nodes from Milwaukee to Chicago to Indianapolis to Columbus, right? Obviously Chicago and Indianapolis, they are two important cities along this along this trip, and you can guess what am I using here? Obviously the highway system. So I'm actually using the land mode, but specific links I'm using is should be R, right? I-94 East, I-65 South, and then I-70 East, right? So I can still use land transportation as my mode, but this time if I'm using railway system and highway system. What are nodes? It's actually the same. Milwaukee, Chicago, Indianapolis, Columbus. But this time, I need to use railway first to start from Milwaukee to Chicago or directly to Indianapolis. Then, since there is no passenger railway system between Columbus and Indianapolis, as far as I know, I need to use highway again to drive from Indianapolis to Columbus. So here I'm still using the land mode, but I use different links, right? I used Amtrak railway first and then highway system. So I can also use aviation or air transportation as my mode to move from Milwaukee to Columbus. There is no direct airline from Milwaukee to Columbus, so I can just simply fly from Milwaukee to Chicago and then to Columbus. This time, what link am I using? United. It's an airlines company, right? So this example here, what's the purpose here? I want you to differentiate modes and links. Modes, they are more general. They are big methods, right? Land transportation, maritime transportation, although it's not listed here because I'm not going to swim across the Lake Michigan or take a boat or something to Chicago. That is not an option, right? So land and aviation, even with land mode, I can use different links. Okay, so do not confuse modes with links. Links, they are more specific routes connecting nodes. Okay, let's continue. So what is security? I've introduced so much about transportation and the transportation network. So what is security? Okay, the quality or state of being secure, such as freedom from danger, freedom from fear or anxiety, or freedom from the prospect of being laid off. But in transportation security, when we're talking about transportation security, the security here in the context of transportation is more specific. Okay, security is protection against purposeful acts that threaten safety, more specifically, threaten transportation safety. So the most important part about this sentence is purposeful acts. Okay, so based on this definition of security in the context of transportation, let me ask you, if there was an accident on the highway due to mechanical malfunction of a car or due to careless driving of that driver, is that a security issue? Is that a transportation security issue? The answer is no, because no one was purposefully trying to make that accident happen. It was not purposeful. So that was about transportation safety, right? Mechanical malfunctions or careless driving or fatigue driving. That is not the security we're going to talk about in this class. So you will say, what are purposeful acts? Sounds abstract. Let me just use another word to replace purposeful acts. Terrorist attack. Now I think that's clear enough, right? Terrorist attacks against transportation systems. Okay, security in the context of transportation is protection against terrorist attacks that threaten the safety of transportation systems. Now you know what this course is going to discuss. We're going to talk about mainly terrorist attacks against transportation systems and how to use different agencies and different roles and policies in transportation systems to protect, to prevent these purposeful acts from happening. Okay, I know that a lot of you did not know that this course was about the discussion of terrorist attacks and associated transportation policies. But yes, here I'm telling you that this course will be about much about how to prevent terrorist attacks and how different international and international organizations and other organizations and agencies at different scales, how are they trying to protect transportation systems? How are those policies made? What happened in the history in terms of transportation security? Okay, so be very clear about the concept of security in the context of transportation or transportation systems. Okay, why do we care about transportation security? Because there are purposeful threats against the safety of traveling public. Right? So here is the task of TSA, the Transportation Security Administration. If you have ever used air transportation systems before, you know TSA, right? Their purpose or their goal is to strengthen the security of transportation systems while ensuring the freedom of movement for people and commerce. Okay, there are purposeful acts against the safety of transportation systems. So we need to address those threats. So we need to care about transportation security because it's not only about big business, right? As long as you drive, as long as you use aircraft to fly from one city to another, you are a part of the transportation system. You are a user and customer of the transportation. You might also be an employee of the system. So the transportation of the security of transportation systems is not only about goods, but more importantly, it's about people. Okay, so what sorts of threats are there? There could be robberies, there could be piracy, could be sabotaging and hijackings in the air, could be bombing and assaults. Okay, and what damage might these threats cause? Firstly, casualties, and then property damage and or loss, public properties or private properties. And the third one is more popular, unfortunately popular recently in the last maybe 2 decades or even three decades, political impact. So what are the motivations for causing such damage? I mean, why would bad people do that? Firstly, property claiming. This is straightforward, right? Second one, political aims. High-profile terrorism threats for short or long-term political goals. That's the reason why that one very serious terrorist attacks happened. All medias, all governments, they are expecting some terrorist organization to step out and claim what happened and claim the responsibility for what happened. Because I mean, it's not easy to organize a terrorist attack. Why would you do that? Just you can just assume that you are a terrorist and you are going to harm somebody or a lot of people. Why would you do that? It's time consuming, it's very dangerous, you could get caught. Political aims, okay? Political aims. And here is an example. So London bombings happened on July 7th, 2005. So this is a map showing you 1, 2, 3, 4 sites that bombings happened on that day, bombing locations. Okay. So King's Cross Station. This is a hub of a railway system of London or even the whole England. A lot of you may have heard of this station from Harry Potter, but you may know that this is a real location in London. Okay, so you can say that two bombings, they happen very close to this very important landmark, not only to England but also to the whole world. And two of them, the second one and the first one, they happened far away from the center of the city. So Aldgate, where this is the location. The bombing first happened, killed 7 and injuring more than 170 people. Then at Adware, the second bombing happened, okay, killing 6 and injuring more than 160 people. And then the third bombing happened here, Russell Square, somewhere here. Actually, there are actually two locations, right? Another square is called Tavistock. So Russell Square and King's Cross, you know that they're actually together. They're very close to each other. Okay, the last one, killing 26 and injuring more than 340. Okay, it's a tragedy. Okay, because these people, no matter killed or injured, they were innocent people. Okay. The last one, sorry, here, I missed that. Killing 13 and injured more than 100 people. So this is a very complex plan or big project to carry out. Okay, and Al-Qaeda. In September 2005, 2 months after this tragedy, Al-Qaeda claimed partial responsibility for the bombings. So a lot of people were curious about why would they claim responsibilities? It's crime. Claiming it means that you will be charged, you will be arrested. So if it is a lone wolf carrying out a criminal activity, he or she will just run away and try to hide instead of claiming something. But here you should know that terrorist attacks, they are purposeful. When they are done, the perpetrators, they want to claim the responsibility for impacts, for influence, for attentions from international medias, for political benefits. Okay, I have the power to hurt you, right? I have the view to hurt you, and this is what I want. If you and this is what I want, and if you do not give me that, I will hurt you more. So basically, that's the logic. So transportation security policies and agencies and organizations, they are trying to stop purposeful acts from happening. Okay, so this is the end of the first lecture. And I want to list several more goals besides all those ones I have listed in the syllabus. Some of them, they are similar, but I want to emphasize several words here, okay? Understand the historical threats to transportation networks and systems. Understand how these threats have affected transportation networks and systems. And understand what security policies and procedures are in place to reduce the risk of threat to transportation networks and systems, and perform assessments on risks, threats, and security policies, regulations, and practices. Okay, and we will look at transportation security, as I mentioned before, from a comprehensive network and system perspective. Okay, so next lecture will be about transportation security systems before 9/11, which is another tragedy happened September 11, 2001 in New York, in Manhattan, right? It is considered as a watershed of transportation security, not only in US, but also around the world. It also changed a lot of things. It changed more than 3,000 families, right? It changed the geopolitical issues, or say it completely changed the geopolitics around the world. Okay, but for this class, we're not going to discuss political impacts of that terrorist attack or military impact. We're going to address that tragedy from a perspective of transportation security. You will see that transportation security systems before 9/11, they were actually very weak, not only in US, but also around the world. And you will also say what were changed, what were adjusted, what were improved in terms of transportation security after 9/11. So we will start this course from multiple historical events. Okay, I'll just stop here. That's just enough information for you in one video. Okay, and I will see you in the next lecture.